We move on to Sunday, September 19th. And we open up with the Bengals at the Bears at Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois. Let's first start with the market moves here. And this game is an absolute beauty. I can't wait for it. The Bears open up -3, -102 at Pinnacle. They're now -3 at +109. So there's been an 11-cent move to the Bears. This total has had almost very little movement, a 5-cent move to the under. It was slightly juiced to the over at Pinnacle, and I'm always going to use opening lines at Pinnacle, and they're not the first out to the market anymore, but I just respect their market moves. So that's where we have over there. Then we move over to the cash flow in this spot. Just 4,615 tickets in, so enough for us to make some decisions. And the early money coming in on the Bengals. 61% of the tickets on the Bengals and 85% of the cash on the Bengals. And you have to ask yourself, how do you rank the Minnesota Vikings? I mean, I think that's the first and foremost look here when you see all this money moving towards the Bengals. From a total standpoint, you have 44% of the tickets on the under, but 52% of the cash on the under. DX Filer in the house, Coco Bongo ready to get to work. Let's go. Bengals started their season with a big 27-24 win over the Vikings. Joe Burrow, 20-27, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Jamar Chase was excellent. He was everything that Burrow said he was going to be, and the reason why they drafted him when they could have got Sewell. 5 catches for 101 yards and 1 touchdown. T. Higgins, 4 catches for 58 yards and 1 touchdown. Joe Mixon was healthy and was a monster. 29 times he ran for 127 yards and 1 touchdown. He also caught 4 passes for 23 yards. He has got a swag about him. He's just got this toughness about him, and he's a monster. And if they want to play, nickel and dimes, then Mixon is going to run and run and run. On defense, B.J. Hill got off to a strong start with 2 sacks. Ogunjobi added 1. The Bears were outclassed in all facets of their 34-14 loss at the Rams, but one game does not a season make, and we got to talk about the overreactions that happened from week 1 to week 2. Andy Dalton, 27 for 38 for 206 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. I want nothing to do with Andy Dalton. I only want to fade Andy Dalton for the rest of his career. And when Justin Fields came in for those few snaps, like I was on the Rams -7.5, and the team told under 17.5. And the only time I got concerned when I saw Justin Fields run out there, and I was like, oh no, because I wasn't sure if the Rams defense was prepared for what Fields brought to the table. He was 2 for 2 for 10 yards through the air, and he ran once for a 3-yard TD. I think this is the opportunity to play him more, and I think that they will. Marquise Goodwin led the receivers with 4 catches for 45 yards. Cole Kmet, 5 catches for 42 yards. Dalton didn't complete a pass for over 19 yards. I mean, just stop with this. Yes, you didn't want to send Justin Fields to the slaughter. I get it, but stop. Allen Robinson, 6 passes for 35 yards. He didn't get a reception for longer than 9 yards. As you predicted, Bebsie Montgomery was a beast, 16 rushes for 108 yards and 1 touchdown. The Bears' defense was gashed all night long. 6 of Stafford's first 7 full drives, 375 yards. Oh, they put up scores, 6 of 7 first drives, 375 yards of offense. This once impressive, vaunted, spectacular even front 7 could sustain no pressure on Stafford. 1 sack on the night. Roquan Smith was the only one doing any damage out there. Jason Peters, of course, 39. He injures himself, his quad early in the 3rd quarter. Come on. And then the backup, Larry Borum, out later with an ankle injury. And nose tackle Eddie Goldman inactive with a knee and ankle injury. And nickelback Duke Shelley also sat out. So I don't want to overreact to the loss week 1 from the Bears, but I certainly don't want to back the Bears with the Red Rocket under center. Bebsy, take it away, Bengals Bears.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Jimmy, because I think it's an overreaction, but I also think this whole situation is a double overreaction. That's why you're seeing the public come in on the Bengals right now, is because the Bengals won, the Bears got embarrassed, but the Bears played a Super Bowl contender. The Bengals played the Vikings. So let's pump the brakes. It's 1 week. I don't think that the Bears are going to be abysmal every single week. I think they've got to work out some kinks. I think Andy Dalton's going to be on an extremely short leash. I think you'll see more Fields early on. And I really think, I mean, if Matt Nagy's smart, if they're losing going into the second half, I think you see Justin Fields trot out there because this fan base isn't going to tolerate a ton of Andy Dalton. They already don't want him in there. We know what Andy Dalton can do. We've seen flashes of what Justin Fields can do in the NFL so far in preseason and now the first game. My knock as a Buckeyes fan on Fields is the only thing I can really knock him on is he hangs onto the ball a little bit too long, but he's not your typical Buckeyes quarterback. So I think really short leash for Andy Dalton. I think this could be a situation where if you want a live bet as soon as it looks like Fields is coming in, maybe throw something down. So I don't know. I don't have a ton of faith in the Bengals yet. I really like Joe Burrow. Man, the guy's a great player. He looked pretty solid coming off that knee injury, which is impressive because not a lot of quarterbacks come off an ACL and play that well. But it's just it's too much uncertainty for me. If I was going to look at a play here, it might be the over. But there's nothing for me in this game.
Great stuff coming in from the chat. And Jose, please take over too. I don't mean to be. There's so many comments. I'm like, I just feel my hand reaching over just to get up on the screen. First of all, I don't think that early money is public money at all. So when we do these shows on Tuesday, I think the movement will be sharp money. So that's first off. Slats45 says, how do the Bears not start Fields here? And then some interesting points from the chat. Birdie says, if you like Cincy, take it now, unless you feel the Bears switch to Fields. Sharp money on Bengals line isn't moving until Bears announce quarterback. Once Dalton is announced, this 3 goes away. And he says, no play for me. Viper says Fields needs to start. So Trusty says, I'm not touching a Bears game until Fields starts. And
yeah, and I don't blame them for that. They're more predictable under Fields because Fields is at least competent. I mean, Andy Dalton. I know Birdie said it's a revenge game for Andy Dalton, but I just don't see Andy Dalton getting revenge. I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm with a lot of the chat here. I say stay off this game, especially stay off the Bears until we know who their quarterback is. But I do believe that. If they're losing going in the second half, Nagy's going to feel that pressure, and I think you might see Fields take over.
Male redheads almost never get revenge. Female redheads, that's a different story. Diehard MMA podcast, Ryan Clint says, I think we might have an over on our hands here. Bears offense is better with the new quarterback, and the D is not what it was. Yeah, better than Trubisky. I mean, I don't even know. Honestly, I don't even know if that's true. I'm not saying it's not, but I don't think of Dalton that highly unless he's a huge dog. And Clint says, since he isn't as good as they looked against my Vikings. I can't wait to talk about the Vikings spot. I agree with that.
I think we're all on the same page with that.
And then Dommy Gun says that Nagy said he won't start until week 4. Nagy said today no Fields till week 4 at the earliest. So, I cap all sports, and it's a battle. It's a fucking battle. And we're going to come here on Tuesdays, and the markets are going to have already moved, and I've got to maybe step back. But here, I understand why the Bengals at +3 are a play. I do. I think. Okay, talk to me about this Bears defense, because my man R, he's Scarborough. No, he's not Scarborough. He's in downtown Toronto with us. What do I mean Scarborough? He's just a little over on the east side, but he's downtown Toronto with us, and he says that front 7 is elite for the Chicago Bears. Do you agree with that?
Is it what? Sorry.
Elite. They're an elite front 7.
I think they certainly were. They obviously didn't play like that this week, but again, like Matt Stafford getting the ball out quick to some weapons. That running game, though, Darrell Henderson had some moments, but all in all, I think they were elite. I think they're very good. I think elite is a push right now. Khalil Mack's got to step it up, but they're very good. I think they were formerly elite.
Well, after all of this talk, I do not think that Dalton can get revenge. But I don't. You know what? Before I move on the Bengals +3, I want to hear what we have to say about the Vikings. So I'm going to leave that as a question mark right now. And I'm going to leave that. Ski Prof says, Jimmy, do you ever attack the early line Sunday night or Monday morning, or you prefer to wait? So if I was doing this alone, like I used to, then I would attack the Sunday and Monday. But right now, I think that I am better working with you guys, working with the chat, and working with the experts we have on camera, rather than just going it alone. And I also like to know the market moves. I like to know where the early money is. I think if I was more skilled, Ski, I would get in on Sundays and Mondays. When we talk about the sports I do best at, like NHL, I don't need to hear anything from anybody. So I think that's the best way for me to answer this. Brady says, other option, Jimmy, is to wait, take Bengals money line once you get a better feel. I think I'll have that feel after we break down the Vikings.